again, national priority. Okay. All right, so the FON is an IMLS funded research project, again, to basically do what we've been doing, but across a national network for getting archives all locked in together for a broad range of contributing institutions and minimizing barriers to accessing research information and everything else that we do as archivists. Is we want to create a network that is community driven, sustained, and governed. Again, a lot of overlap with what we're doing here in TARO. So it's a good next step for a lot of what TARO wants to drive forward. Which one? All right, so here is our TARO steering committee. Again, we'll read all these names, but you can see that we have a fairly good representation across the state, you know, and we'd love to get some more on any of our committees that are, which we're going to go through, but we'd love to have some from the smaller institutions and places in the state that we don't necessarily get to reach all the time. So it is a little bit of extra time, but you know, look at your schedule and look at your, you know, performance plan for the future, and hopefully you can consider working with us on TARO on the steering committee or one of the other ones. And I guess before we go on, I will say thanks to Samantha Dodd, who was our last year president and has unfortunately left us for the East Coast, but she's here in spirit and certainly did a lot last year to get us through that final leg of TARO 2.0 and did a lot of work on the TARO Today website. So thanks to Samantha. Again, here are our subcommittees. We've got finding and sustainability, governance, NEH management, outreach and education, standards, of which Matt and I are both part of, Summerly Q&A, website technology, and what does that say? Authorized terms. All right. And lots of folks in our room today are all part of TARO already, so I can preach into the choir. I'm happy to see everybody. So the website technology subcommittee, we should go ahead and chat on that.
Sure. Website and technology subcommittee. I know I had been doing a lot of communication with the grant development. At this point, I don't have a whole lot to speak to as far as their report. But they have been vital in sort of like looking at the ongoing development over the past year and being able to give feedback on that. Before we get too deep into the subcommittees, I'll just sort of like zoom out for a second also and say for context, I feel like TARO is in this moment where we've completed this, you know, we really had a lot of people putting their shoulders to the boulder or whatever you call it, and doing a lot of work to make the grant happen, get the grant done, get the grant wrapped up, get the new website out there. And all these committees that we mentioned today had a role in that one way or another. Web tech getting feedback on the development, for example. And right now we're in a moment where TARO is, to some extent, we're catching our breath from all of that work and taking a beat and pausing. And we're also now beginning to live into our new strategic plan, which was worked out last year. That had been shared on TARO Today last fall. We can talk a bit more about it if the folks are interested as we go. But I think right now we're in a moment saying, okay, we got a new sign up. Okay, hooray. Okay, we got the grant done. Okay, breathe. And now we have this new direction, sort of building on our strengths and sort of filling some places out in our new strategic plan, which is a 3-year plan. So a lot of the committees will have new assignments coming in the next couple of months is sort of where I think broadly we're at with our work. Standards, I think, falls in a similar sort of pattern where last year we rolled out the new best practices guidelines. We put a lot of work into new guidance on how to encode your finding aids and also tried to update our standards and our documentation to be in alignment with the new website and the new website requirements that were coded into it. And now we're at a moment of beginning to do some sort of investigation for our next round of strategic goals for the next few years. So one thing we just had related to the BPG that just came out is a few months ago, we had a live webinar just sort of announcing this and promoting it and walking through the new guidelines and how we thought about them and how we hope people can use them. And then that is now on our YouTube channel, which announcement, TARO has a YouTube channel. It has for a while, but that was something I recently learned. So anyway, that is available. The documentation is available. We're happy to get feedback on that. We'd love to know how it's serving people or not serving people. And part of the premise of rewriting it was A, the new website, but B, we wanted to make something that was more useful. We sort of got feedback that the old best practice guidelines were great, but people weren't necessarily consulting them as much as we thought they were. So we tried to make something more immediately useful and applicable to your EAD encoding. But then speaking also about the upcoming project with the new strategic plan, one goal is we're researching bilingual finding aids, trying to find examples of like English, Spanish finding aids or other languages, and looking at that and some best practices or good enough practices that are out there now, and then trying to relate that to the technology and resources and person power that TARO has to see how that might fit in our context. The Summerly QA subcommittee is always busy. They've done a great job in helping onboard new repositories, and the Summerly funding I'll give you all a minute to absorb those names and appreciate them because they've been doing a lot of work. But the Summerly New Member Initiative is bringing new folks on board all the time, and they are continuing to do quality assurance and looking over the finding aids that are being received from our repositories before it's sent to vendors and also when they come back to vendors. And I won't read all of this, but I think for those who don't know, the New Member Initiative is funded by the Summerly Foundation, and they've provided funds to get EAD finding aids encoded. And this is really targeted at repositories that may not have the personnel or the background or the knowledge or the resources to get their own EAD encoding online. And it's really intended to grow TARO and to get more people on board and make sure the repositories that are maybe underrepresented or smaller or whatever are not omitted from TARO but are part of the work we do and are able to be a part of it. So that's been an ongoing thing. We are always interested in having new people join us either through Summerly or in other ways. And we do have contact information on the screen there. Robert.g.weaver@ttu.edu would be happy to hear from you if you're interested in submitting things with Summerly. And just a quick shout out, the Summerly committee got 62 finding aids on board last year, 2022. Announcement, semi-news, but funding is continuing through Summerly at least through this year, through 2023. So that money is still there. We've been able to work with the granting organization to extend the timeline we planned for this. There is still money available, so we're stretching it onward. They've been okay with that. Able to continue to fund more people coming on board. So, continue to let people know about it and try to bring them on board. And we've got just a shot of our roster of project participants. You can see when they joined and get a sense of sort of the breadth and flavor of some of the folks that are able to participate in TARO through this program that might not have otherwise been on board. And then the Funding and Sustainability Subcommittee, this is chaired by Amy Bowman at Briscoe UT. And they've been involved largely last year and this year in working with THRAD to get funding for our trainings. And there have been 3 TARO in-person trainings this spring. There's one yet to come. And that information all been shared out on the list on TARO today. And if you're interested in the date and detail, I can find them on the last one, just not off the top of my head right now. And then they are also investigating options along with the Outreach and Education Committee for virtual trainings, because there's been a lot of interest in some like video trainings and like how-to video tutorials for TARO things. In the respect for heredity sort of conference theme here, and the fact that we have folks here online with us joining us. We're also aware that not everybody wants to or can travel across the state to do an in-person training, which is great when you can. We plan to continue offering those, but it's something we want to be able to bring people to be able to make sure we're able to meet the needs of our repositories wherever they are.
Back over here. All right, so for our outreach and education committee, you can see the folks that are involved in that, and some wonderful, wonderful folks along with everybody else. All right. This one. All right, so they've got some interesting things that they've been working on. The in-person TARO trainings. And I did one last year, when we were getting started in the Dallas Municipal Archives, and it really helped a lot. So the fact that they're going to be doing more in-person ones and working on, as Matt said, some virtual ones, maybe YouTube variations is a really great place to start if you're nervous about getting your repository going on this. It's a great way to do it. So you've got the in-person trainings. They're doing a report on the effectiveness of what they're doing, and then upcoming projects. Oops. What have I done? No. Here we go. Working on more virtual training and continuing the work and just figuring out, like Matt said, how to get more folks to access to TARO training and access to the folks that really know how to do it and can help everybody out. All right. This one. So this one's there we go. All right, the governance subcommittee. There we go. All right. Sorry, some technical issues as usual. So TARO is run by the steering committee of volunteers, and then we've got, as we've been going through, lots of different subcommittees, and one of them is governance. And we've got our institutional home taken care of by the UT libraries, and they do a lot of our technical stuff and all the behind the scenes web work. And the governance plan for TARO is available on that wiki. And the NEH planning grant has included negotiating continued work with this with ET and for TARO files, programmers, and the TARO liaison, which again is Aaron Schott. It's a fantastic relationship, and we're very happy that they are willing to support this for us. All right, and the nominating committee, also known as the AtLarge committee, of which I am part of. We're part of the steering committee, and there are 3 AtLarge members, and our main job is taking care of arguments between the rest of the steering committee. No, I'm kidding. Our big job is it comes around in the fall to get the nominations for new steering committee and do the all the election stuff and the biographies and just get everybody involved and then take care of the voting and announcement of all that. So there's 3 of us, as I said, and it's a 2-year commitment. So I'll be rolling off next year, and Catherine will as well. But it's a fun committee. It's involved, but not quite as involved as some of the other ones, which enables me to be on steering and other committees as well. So there's my plug for getting your name on the AtLarge roster next fall. All right, again, we did the nominations and the elections, and they're a little bit different every year depending on whose terms are coming up. And then we will be looking for the vice chair this year, chair-elect, and then 2 at-large members. So come on, you want to run. The invitation, you can nominate yourself, you can nominate a friend, you can nominate someone that maybe isn't your favorite, but that's okay. We still want to work with everybody. And again, elections will take place in November, and we will start sending things out late August, but definitely in September, you'll start hearing from us again. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up.
All right, so looking ahead to TARO 2.0 in 2023, which we're going into now, which is amazing. As I mentioned, we're thinking, leaning sort of heavily on developing more training and looking at what that looks like, whether in person or virtual. We'll be doing maintenance on the website and regular updates on TARO Today, both news and announcements every month or so, as well as continuing to expand the resources that are there and sort of the way the site is organized and presented. And we're welcoming feedback on the site, welcoming feedback on the best practice guidelines, and even more broadly, we'd love to hear more from people, having the two-way communication, just feedback about TARO, what it ought to be doing, what it's doing, what's we're doing well, what your repository needs to get more involved, where you're at, how we can help. Just really, one of my personal goals when I joined steering was really to focus on reducing barriers, which I think the new upload process for the website is a great example of that. I think it's a lot less, it's more, to me, it's more straightforward than it had been. But also just think about like other institutional sort of like barriers where your TARO contact leaves, or, you know, you just fall behind because you're busy and a couple of years later, you're like, oh yeah, I need to get back on TARO. Like, how do we facilitate those people continuing to come back along and get back on board? So I'd love to hear from you if you're like, oh, I forgot about TARO, I really need to get on that. You've got some guilt about that, just like let go of that and talk to me, talk to any of us, and we'd love to help get you, you know, caught up and on board. And I don't have a slide for it, but I did want to just mention sort of the high points of the strategic plan, which is not, I don't think it has been formally like rolled out publicly, but we did share it on TARO Today in a draft form for comment a few months ago. So this isn't like news or secrets or anything so much, but I did just want to highlight some of the strategic themes we identified for TARO were to be resilient, responsive, and revolutionary. So we love our R's, I guess, and resilient, coming out of the past few years of things being so different and changing. I think there's definitely a recognition that we have something that is sustainable and you know, durable, responsive, being able to respond to our members, being able to get feedback, being able to not have things sort of go stale and fall behind. I think has happened to repositories in the past, and TARO probably what we know in the past. And revolutionary, I admire this ambition here. TARO must look toward the future, take risks, and put forth an effort to be put ahead of the game. So we will do what we can, things like bilingual finding aids. We always have one eye like on the AD3. There's no imminent plan, I repeat, no imminent plan for AD3 transition. But we're aware of those trends in the field. We're trying to make sure that we are a part of it and we're ahead of what we can be. And I think the Nedderman partnership sort of falls in that category. So those are some sort of like guiding ideas for us. As far as the specific goals and initiatives, we are looking to strengthen TARO repositories by providing a variety of educational resources. And I think this is the one that we're most actively like doing very well right now with our trainings and looking at how the trainings can take new forms for people, and also improving TARO Today and its resources for people. We are looking to, number 2, increase TARO use, traffic, and impact through outreach and community collaboration. So that means showing up places, that means exploring partnerships, that could be the Nedderman partnership, that can mean exploring working with SNAC more, social networks in archival context, finding other events like archives bazaars and things where we might want to show up and have a presence, continuing to sort of like get the word out and find partnerships so we can get as much of an impact as we can. And number 3, diversity and inclusion. Looking at the contents of TARO, the repositories, the archives, seeing where there might be gaps, seeing where we can help bring people that may be underrepresented or haven't participated in the past, to be able to use TARO's network and resources to help other people that may not be able to do some of these things, like the Summerly Grant is a big part of that. Also looking at how we might work with different like Hispanic serving institutions, HBCUs, LGBTQ plus archives and things like that, just improving our ability to be a facilitator for other groups. So that's really what TARO is at its heart. So facilitator for repositories and facilitator for researchers. Standards and statistics is our fourth point. So getting our statistics out there, getting our subject headings, getting our best practice guidelines, continuing to evolve and be responsive to meet people's needs and be able to make the case for TARO's impact. And then finally, development and sustainability, the fifth point. So continuing to sort of plan out for funding into the future, for future projects, for future asks, for future grants, to be able to get our Summerly members to sort of transition eventually off of Summerly to submitting their own finding aids, continuing to be a more robust and sustainable program. And of course, this is the fun ask. We were doing a lot of begging in the last year to people on some committees, and people answered the call wonderfully. So thank you for everyone who's joined recently. We are always more interested in more folks joining us. There's always new ideas, and there's always something interesting to get into. As I say, as we sort of start to live into the strategic plan next couple of years, we could use your ideas and your input and your efforts to make it all happen. If you're interested in volunteering, we've got a link there. If you're here in the room, please find anybody whose name you've seen on these slides. And if I can volunteer the rest of them or us, of course, we're happy to talk. I can say for standards, I've been on there for 3 jobs now. I've been at 3 different Texas repositories for the time I've been on standards. But I'll be, as I step into the TARO chair role next year, I'll be trying to look to do less with standards. And I know Molly's been on there for a long time, and we would love to have some more folks join. And we're on the hunt for new co-chairs for standards. I know won't speak for the other subcommittees, but I'm sure anybody would be happy to have help. So consider those committees, which are a good way to get started, and also the steering committee. When the time rolls around in September, we'll be eager to have some folks join us and help sort of chart the next direction for TARO.
This new blood is always good.
One just bang on the mic and make it do some more feedback stuff. Okay, so how can your Archival institution join TARO? I don't know. And maybe I can get some feedback from folks in the chat and from people in the room as we sort of like wrap up our talking at you part of this about maybe there's somebody here who's not on TARO. Maybe we want to chat some more about how we can help you. But certainly there's a how to join sort of description, and we would love to have you just reach out to us directly and talk about it. Any of us are happy to be available and helpful with getting you on board. We'd love to have you. And if you are interested specifically in the Summerly, Robert Weaver is your contact for that. His name's in the slides, and we are certainly, as I said, we'll continue that funding for a while, so that's a good option for some folks. And wrapping up, last slide, stay in touch. I already shared these links at the outset, but TARO Today blog, the TARO Wiki homepage for a lot of our meeting minutes and official documentation live, and then the TARO listserv, which is maintained at UT. And with that, that's all that we're going to throw at you, but we would love to hear from you, either in the room or in the chat, if you have questions, and or if you want to just introduce yourself and your repository and sort of like where you're at with TARO right now. If you're fully caught up with the new website, or if you're like, oh yeah, did they get a new website? I need to see where that's at. We'd love to know where you're at and how we can help. And I think is there a mic for questions in the room if need be? Okay. So yeah, we'll open it up if somebody has comments, questions, either in the room or in the chat, and we'll try our best to manage both. Or if you're a past leader of TARO, want to tell me how bad we're screwing up.
Can do worse than me.
I have a question, maybe for Robert. I don't know, you're in the thick of the Summerly QA. I'm just wondering how the workflow is going. Is it going?
Yes, it is, and it's actually sort of simplified.
Can you hold on just a second? We'll give you the mic for
Oh,
our virtual friends. Oh, is the all going to catch it?
It should. It caught it in my presentation
Oh,
down the way. Ask the chat. Can people hear?
Hey Chad, how's it going? Do you hear from the owl or do you need the mic? They've all gone to their actual lunches. Yes, we can hear without the mic. Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yes, okay, just wanted to make benefit of people not in the room, I won't tell you who. Well, I called that, but somebody else did, I won't tell you who.
Probably wise.
Anyway, go on, sorry.
So this is the question about how the summer league workload is going. It's actually like over time, it's just sort of simplified itself because we're not getting as many finding aids as we should, which is why we got the funding extended. So we need more repositories to send stuff. Right now, it's as simple as what you said, get them a document, send them out, they come back, send them out, they come back. So it's working great. Thank you. And thank you, I think, Carla and Sandra. So it works like a charm. We just brought on Prairie View A&M and they gave us like 30 finding aids. They're HBCU, so we're really excited about that. And yeah, perfect. And I'm only on it for another, literally ticking down the clock until Marcella takes over in January. So it's been a smooth transition for each chair of it too.
That's good to hear, because I know I'm on it, but I have not responded to any emails.
It's
2 years.
Each of the different groups of volunteers, 2 or 3 of them, turns them around pretty quickly. I don't have to hear from them as long as they put them where they're supposed to put them. So, you know, those of you who are in here who do that, works great.
Can I add about Summer League that, we have some repositories that have been longtime TARO repositories, but like you mentioned, Matt, they have staff turnover sometimes where you can have a bunch of finding aids in TARO already, but then all of a sudden you kind of have a whole new staff at a repository, or you just lost your person that knew how to do it. And so in that scenario, you have kind of become a new member again. And so people like that can apply to participate in Summer League, right?
Definitely. I know Lamar, as a matter of fact, had finding aids on there and is now submitting stuff through Summerlin. So you can do it. UTEP, I think, is doing the same thing. University of Texas El Paso is doing the same thing.
Yeah, we were supposedly involved from the very beginning, but somehow or other, because El Paso is very isolated and there was staff turnover, the person who was really trained in doing it left, and we just didn't. It kind of went into hiatus, I guess. So we're very excited. We're going to have in-person training in May. So
More delicious Mexican food. That's what I'm looking for.
Nothing in the chat right now. I'm curious if anybody in the chat or in the room is on one of the subcommittees. If I sold you short, if there's something you'd like to share about the work you've been doing, I'd love for you to bring that to the group.
All right, I have something to say again about
Please, Amanda.
about participation, like you're trying to encourage people to get involved. And I think, I agree, like TARO is such a great, friendly organization and we do really good things. All volunteer power. And the thing about volunteering and getting involved on a committee or something, or running for a position, like you don't already have to know how to do it. You don't have to start off understanding it all, because people will show you how to do it and what's going on. So if you think you might be interested, you should get in touch with somebody, because they'll just show you how. You don't have to start off being knowledgeable.
I can attest to that. I was nominated to the steering committee as basically we were starting to learn how to do it. And so I was, in some ways it was good because I had the right questions to ask. And so even though I was on the steering committee, I was asking questions that maybe they had forgotten to answer in a while. And like I said, blood is always good. And everybody was really welcoming, even though I hadn't any idea what I was doing, but I figured it out now. And we've, you know, we're still in the process of getting things online, but we've got, 40 or 50 collections up there now, and we'll continue to do so. So yes, you do not have to, You can, if you know how to say the word TARO and you can type an email or pick up the phone, then you're great.
Oh, it's tricky.
Yes, we'll take text, we'll take, whatever.
And there are questions in the chat and comments as well, so would you like to address those?
Yeah, thank you. So we've got a couple of just some appreciation for what you just said there. Anna White says, thank you for that comment. As a complete novice to the field, everything feels both relevant and irrelevant. Smiling, laughing, crying emoji. And then Kaylin says, yes, saying that I am completely new to this. So it's great to hear there's new folks in the room, and we are glad you're here. And please don't be a stranger if we can help you along. Oh, and then Kaylin also asked, are there other programs like TARO in the Southwest?
And being a recent transplant to New Mexico, I can comment that New Mexico Archives Online has a sort of a similar program to TARO. They have a different platform, but the idea is similar, and they are hosted by University of New Mexico. They work with archive space. So for those outside of Texas but based in New Mexico, that's where they should go.
A quick search of Google showed that Arizona does as well. Arizona Archives Online, I thought I'd seen it before. Well, it's not the Southwest. I was just in a presentation with two colleagues from Nebraska, and they had an NAO, which I assume was Nebraska Archives Online. So other states are doing it. California has whatever theirs is. Y'all are the ones on the phone. Whatever they.
Online Archive of California.
Yeah.
There's one, yeah.
Archives West up there,
Archives West, yes.
who were essential in the early stages of showing the people long before I was here, how TARO might look and how it might operate. So there's a bunch of resources out there, state by state, or in those big conglomerates, consortia of states.
Yeah. And to what Robert just nodded at, also the Nedderman thing, we didn't get too far into, but that's definitely one thing that we're in communication about. And I think, I don't have the number in front of me, but they have, I want to say it's more than a dozen like consulting partners of these sort of like archival state or regional aggregators. Oh, maybe somebody else in the room can correct me. I feel like 15 or so that they're actively working with. I know the University of Virginia, there's one for Virginia, and Virginia is one of the, Virginia and Illinois, California are two of the sort of like leading partners in that grant project. But they've also been consulting with TARO and other folks that have these aggregators to see what it might look like to sort of scale up from there. And where that project stands right now is that they're essentially wrapping up their 2.5-year project of sort of figuring out what could this even look like. And they're about to release a report that hasn't come out yet, but they're going to soon release a report that's sort of their proposal and blueprint for what a national program might look like. So it's going to have sort of, here's what we think is like a good governance and sustainability like funding program, and here's what we think is the types of formats should be accepted. I just have like a sample slide they shared with us. I haven't been as directly involved as some other folks here may be, but my understanding is the thinking right now is there may be some sort of like pay-as-you-can membership option, and then they're definitely looking at being broader than just EAD. They're looking at having all different finding aids, whether it's MARC records or PDFs or EAD or whatever, so they can have the lowest barrier to participation and the most sort of like inclusive options for people having their finding aids searchable there. And then if you have sort of your own system or home where your finding aids live, they would more or less like harvest the top level data, have it be accessible through their portal, and then send you out to your own system. I think that's kind of akin to what DPLA does with their records. But then they can also have an option to host directly if you want to upload straight to them. Anybody feel free to correct me, but that's my understanding of their proposal, which is very different than a system exists today you can log into, but that's the goal of this grant was just to do a sort of blueprint and design what it could look like and what their intention would be. And they'll be going forward with like actual implementation in the future. Oh, the chat, Kaylin says, thanks, I'm based at ASU in Tempe, Arizona, great to learn about our partners. So thank you for Googling that.
All right, any more for any more? Anybody online?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Please.
Can you show where are the stats on the Tarot Today website? Like how would repositories see that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
They're available on the wiki.
on the wiki.
Yeah.
They're in a dedicated folder for tarot statistics.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there is a link on Tarot Today, because that's not my job anymore. But there was gonna be, and they're pretty easy to get. I know that steering knows how to get there.
Can you send me a link to that?
Yeah.
There's usually a message to the tarot list where
Right.
the monthly statistics, and if I remember correctly, on the wiki homepage, there's a tarot stats for quick link, but there's usually a message to the tarot list every month or so.
Yeah, if you're on the front page of the wiki, it's like Carl said, you show like the recent document uploads, because there's not that many document uploads every month.
I think there's actually a link straight to it.
Oh,
Yeah. When I deleted when they re-imaged my computer at work and I lost all of my links, I went to the front page of the wiki and found a tarot stat thing so that I could upload your stuff.
Robert, we related to them. I'm slowly working my way to Tarot Today. I think it's not going feeling it right now, but that's,
Okay.
yeah, Tarot List sort of announces that Tarot Today has, may or may not have an actual link, but the link does.
Okay.
And it's a spreadsheet and you filter out for your repository and you plug them out of there. It's so what I'm seeing. Yeah. Cool. That's what I'm sharing it.
You don't have to do that for me.
Well, it's otherwise it's just like my PowerPoint slide that says questions. So why not? Look, Tarot Today exists. Yeah, it's one of the things that we're sort of ongoing, adding more information about.
Reorganizing, making it a little more user friendly.
But I don't think we have a stats link on the front. Marisol is at a conference somewhere else, so I don't know if she joined us virtually, but she's into that. Yeah, that's where I got the 18,058 thing. That was just awesome. All right, was there anything else? We're happy to stay in chat. We also know that people need breaks and people probably still need meals, and we don't want to keep you just for the sake of keeping you. It's really nice to see Tarot like in a place and not just as an idea. So I appreciate that those of you who turned out virtually or in person. It's nice to see the faces, and please, if you are trying to figure out where to go with it, or curious about it and want to get involved, just seek any of us. I'm volunteering everybody here in the room to seek anybody who's spoken semi-knowledgeably, which may include me, seek them out and chat out it.
That's right. And for anybody using the best practice guide or BPG, as we fondly call it, if you've got any questions as you go through that, reach out to me or anybody else on the standards committee, and we can work with you on that. If you see anything that we need to, any typos or anything, let us know that too. It was a big project, and but anyway, hopefully it's a lot more useful to any of the new folks or even the new old folks.
And if anybody's curious in the room, there's 17 people in the chat, so pretty good turnout on that. Let's see. Caroline says, thank you for speaking on this. It was a complete blind spot for me, so I appreciate learning so much. Hey, learning, great. Yeah, what you're doing. Cool. All right.
All right, thank you, everybody.
We'll wrap it up. Thank you.